Hello and welcome to the Emmy Awards. I'm your host, Emmy Cardinelli, and this is my podcast where I talk about what I've been watching or rewatching once a week. If this is the first episode of mine that you stumble upon and you enjoy it, please feel free to follow me wherever you listen to podcasts so you can get notified when I upload a new episode, like and subscribe, all of that good stuff. Thank you so much for tuning in. As the title suggests, this episode is going to be about Big Brother 28 Week 2. I'm genuinely having such a good time covering Big Brother 28. This was an up and down week. I have a lot of thoughts, both good and bad, so I'm excited to get into it. As I said in my last few episodes, if you have any shows that you would like to hear my thoughts on, feel free to comment down below. I no longer have a full-time job. I got laid off at the end of June, so I have all the time in the world. And while I'm dedicating my time to, I'm filling my time, obviously. Right now, I just got fostering kittens. I'm working on this podcast, and the BB coverage is obviously like a big part of that. But I do have more free time than I did before. So I would love to cover a show if somebody's really interested in my thoughts on it. So just figured I'd mention that. Feel free to comment down below if you really want to hear my thoughts on something. I'd be happy to watch a show just to share my thoughts for like one person, genuinely. I do this thing where I have Big Brother live feeds open in one tab where I can see it. And then I have it muted depending on who's on screen or if it's a we'll be right back or pets or whatever. And then I watch stuff on another tab. Then when it's actually something I want to listen to, I unmute it. I listen to who I want to listen to. I apply to jobs while I'm listening to feeds. I'm staying busy, but my point is that like I can watch something while paying attention to feeds. Because sometimes there are group conversations and I'll unmute it and I'm like, okay, this is great and dandy, but like this doesn't impact the game and I really don't care right now in this moment about, anyways, sorry to ramble. Okay, so let me just jump into Big Brother 28 Week 2. So week 1 ended with Ashley going home. I was sad about it, but I also, this early, I'm trying not to get too attached to people. The only people that I was genuinely attached to from the first week was Angela because I did watch her season. And then Rick Devens, I do really like Rick Devens. I like Dee as well. But to me, not that she wasn't a big part of Survivor 50, she was, like, obviously she was a player. But for me, when I think of Survivor 50, like the maybe it's because I already knew who Dee was. And I'd never heard of Rick Devens. But when I think of the Survivor players that like I grew a fondness for and I really grew to like them based off of Survivor 50, Rick Devens is one of them. So I was really happy that he was on the season. So like I was attached to Rick Devens and Angela, and I was rooting for Dee because I'm a new fan of Survivor. I started watching Survivor earlier this year. So while some Big Brother people are like really annoyed with the Survivor people playing Big Brother, I'm having such a great time between that. Like I think that's really fun. When I watched Suri play Big Brother, I didn't know I knew the general differences of Survivor versus Big Brother, like length, obviously the format of like you're outside living on an island, starving, all of those things. Like I knew the structural differences, but I didn't really understand the intricacies of the game of Survivor when I was watching Suri play. So I'm having a really fun time watching Survivor people on Big Brother, as somebody who has recently gotten into the game Survivor. So I'm having a good time with that. So a lot of people don't like the icons. I was rooting for them. Besides that, as much as I like Ashley, and I've found her to be so funny on social media since she got home and got her phone. I was sad to see her go. Disappointing, but we keep moving. It was also like week one evictions, as far as they go, it was a pretty clean one in that Dee did a good job of like not making many enemies, and the people she targeted, like she had reasons. I mean, Mallory still hates her, but like she did what she could to be like, this isn't personal. Anyways, I don't need to relitigate week one, but we left with Ashley going home. Feeds came back Thursday to the HOH winner, but there was some stuff that happened after the elimination, after the eviction. Sorry, this is how you can tell that I've been watching Survivor, because they don't call it, like, people just get sent home on Survivor. It's an eviction, Big Brother. which is so funny because when I was watching Survivor for the first time, I found myself wanting to be like, they were evicted and they weren't, and now I'm, anyways. But post eviction, but before the HOH comp, before feeds came back, a few things were shown in the episode. Melody, this honestly, she said this in her DRs, but it was like, so maybe she did the DR after the fact, who knows? But she said in the DR that based off of Ashley's scheming, like Ashley saying that she has certain numbers, Melody's starting to feel like there's another side of the house that she's not on. So she really needs to win HOH to protect the side of the house she is on. Like Melody in the DRs pre-HOH is clocking that maybe their sides. Angela says in her DRs for Sunday's episode that she's been nurturing her relationship with Haley. Because right now, the way going into week 2, we have the crossovers lines and we have the red corner. And the crossovers know about the red corner don't know about the crossovers. So Angela's like, I'm not in the red corner, and she doesn't know that I know about that alliance, but I am nurturing that relationship regardless. Another thing in the pre-HOH section of Sunday's episode was reestablishing Angela's suspicion of Rome and Rome wanting to be, or Angela wanting Rome to be her target going into the week. If she were to win HOH, that's what her plan would be. So we're laying groundwork. That was already kind of established in week 1, that Angela has been suspicious of Rome and his allies, but that was reiterated in like going into the HOH comp. The HOH comp, I liked it. It was, I'm not a big comp person. I don't really find many of the comps entertaining. Some more than others, some I do find somewhat entertaining. This one I liked. I really like the themes this season and like the decor and everything. Like I wasn't against this comp, but I have to say it's so funny like watching feeds and then watching the HOH comp, because it's like, and also just the HOH episode, because obviously they condensed stuff very heavily, but there was something that Devens literally brought up with like every person he spoke to when he was talking. Sorry, because Devens was, but you already knew that. Like I'm recapping it, but like I'm really just sharing my thoughts on the week. Okay, anyways, but Devens wins HOH, and in his HOH, he talks many times about, did you see Melody, like when we were gonna partner up, first she chose me, but then she realized that you would like be competing with your partner, so then she didn't want to align with me. Like he kept mentioning that anytime he would talk through nominees with somebody, because Melody was planning to have Melody on the block from the beginning because of this, and he was bringing it up to like every single person. We didn't see that. It wasn't a big deal. I was expecting it to be like maybe not super dramatic, but like not as dramatic as the like you have a prompt, but like something. Okay, non-factor, literally not shown at all, which is fine. At the end of the day, I do think Devens was mentioning that before the plans changed, you know. But basically, first you're competing like against people, and then you're competing in your partners until like it's just you and one other person. And Devens was paired up with Haley, and they were going against Angela and Jason. And you have to like, it's one of those things where you like throw something in the number you hit. You know the comp. Anyways, Devens doesn't hit like a super high number, but Haley does, so they advance into the finals. And Devens wants to throw it. Like Haley wants to win, so he's like, I'm gonna try to hit like a decently high number, but something that I think that Haley can beat. Haley does not beat it, so Devens is the HOH, and I'm really glad. I'm really glad that it was Devens and not Haley. Like, I'm so sorry. I can't sing. Okay. I mean, shout out to her for being the reason they got to the final round. And I will say, and I did say this last week, and I do stand by it, Haley of the red corner people, she brings a little bit of entertainment value for me. Okay? She's funny sometimes. Overwhelmingly, most of her comments are mean more than they're funny. There's something about Haley that I just don't like. She rubs me the wrong way. I don't like Haley. I also feel like a lot of the times on Big Brother, people act differently based, and this is just a human thing, but players will act differently depending on who in their alliance they're like engaging with more. And I just feel like this week, Dee and Angela like pissed me off more because they were very much hanging out with Haley, and I really just don't like the way Haley approaches the game because she like wants to play hard and she wants to target people, but most of it feels like it's from a personal dislike. It's like I don't know. There's no solid game reason for her to target Lala, and she really really hates Lala to the point where she calls her Cruella Lala, and it's like she's like it's so I don't like her. She has a nasty spirit. Anyways, sorry. Devens went to HOH. She was trying to throw it. I was really happy. And when Feeds came back and Devens was HOH, I was thrilled. I was thrilled. Okay. First thing he says before he gets to the HOH room, he is, I'm going to bed at 10 p.m. Okay. Like, I'm not staying up to do the thing. To do. They were up until 5 a.m. Okay. They were up until 5 a.m. and I stayed up the entire time. I literally stayed up until like 4:40. I went to sleep because that's when most of like, you know, and the thing is, I wasn't planning to stay up that long. Like normally when conversations happen in the HOH, I don't need to watch every individual conversation. If it's really late and I want to go to sleep and I've gotten the general idea, like I can get the recap later. But it was just like every time, like things, it wasn't like there was a lull and then somebody would come in. It was like things just kept getting crazier where I was like, well, I can't turn it off now. I need to know what keeps happening. So at the beginning, Devens talks through things with some people, and it seems like he's like wanting easy, chill knocks. Okay, Melody is somebody he keeps bringing up because of the thing that we never saw. And I can't remember who the other people are. I think for a second he considers Lala, but then he's like, I don't know. I think Lyric was a name. He's considering Mallory, but he doesn't want to nominate somebody who's already been on the block, like who's just on the block. He doesn't really like that becomes like a thing that people do. And I will say, I think that's more, I think not that that's never happened before. There are people who are perpetual pawns in seasons past, but I do think it is something that is heightened by the blockbuster, by the sheer number of nominations an HOH has to make. At some point, you don't want to be like, I'm targeting you or you're disposable. You want to be like, well, this person's been up, you experience, like, it becomes easy when you have to nominate so many people to just keep nominating somebody who's been nominated every week. So I think this has happened in seasons before the blockbuster existed, but I do think the blockbuster made it worse. And for the record, this is a blockbuster hate podcast. I hate the blockbuster. I will be going to rant about it later. So if you love the blockbuster, this is simply not the place for you, and I wish you the best. The thing is, I don't care if you don't like the blockbuster. Okay, I've never said when I say that I don't like the blockbuster or I don't the impact it has on the game makes things less enjoyable for me. I'm never saying it's like I'm trying not to be super like if you like the blockbuster you're stupid or like I'm not making any judgments. I'm not making any assertions of like nobody should like the blockbuster. I don't like the blockbuster. Okay, people when I say that always have to be like, well, I like it, or like, here's why it's good. It's like, I didn't ask for your opinion. It's been around for 3 seasons now. I've thought this through. I have a solid, like, train of thought of why I don't like the blockbuster. This isn't just like an impulse. People I like are impacted by it, so I hate the blockbuster. Now, I don't like it as a game mechanic. And I've come to this decision with logic and an opinion. Like, this is my opinion. Okay? Whatever. Anyways, I'll get to that later. It's not really relevant quite yet. But Devens is leaning towards like chill noms. And I was watching this really annoyed. Devens has a conversation with Rome where Rome this ends up biting him in the ass. It was so funny watching it because everybody, people on Twitter were like, Rome, that was the dumbest move ever. But at first, Devens didn't seem like super phased by it because on some level, he did want to work with Rome. So when he was asking Rome questions of like, who do you not want me to nominate? And Rome just gave everything up. Like it if an HOH ever asks you that, I would be like, I don't want you to nominate me, and then like, what are you thinking? Like, I would never give up like the people I'm aligned with and the people I don't want you to target. Like, it was very stupid on Rome's part. Rome literally said, like, I don't want you to nominate Lyric. Like, I would rather be a pawn. And I was like, I would literally take you up on that. Like, I was annoyed because, like, Rick had this conversation, but then he was having other conversations, and he was still on, like, the easy nom, 3 women, Melody, Lyric, somebody else nom idea, right? He wasn't going to make a big move. And I was annoyed. I was like, oh, and I literally tweeted, okay? I was like, Angela, get in there and sway him. And literally, as I was tweeting that, Angela pulled him into the bathroom, which they showed in the HOH episode. Again, I was watching all of this live. She pulled him into the bathroom, and she's like, you need to make a big move. You need to go after Rome. And to Devens' credit, I do think watching the episode and getting insight into, like, based off of the DRs, I do think, like, when I was watching it on feeds, I was like, I think Devens is just, like, and this is no hate to him, okay? I feel like Devens is just easily swayed. He's just like, he was going to do something easy, but then Angela, like, convinced him. And I'm not trying to diminish Angela's role, because I do think she convinced him. And I do like that the edit showed, like, the building blocks of, like, Angela's been on Rome's tail, and then she is, like, because she did. Nobody was being like, hey, Devens, make a big move. But I do think it's not like Devens was just doing what Angela wanted. Like, I think it's somewhere more in the middle. Like, it's not like he was just blindly, like, swayed. I think Devens is just a team player, and he does value his alliance. So I think he just didn't want to make a decision without checking with his people, or like, nobody was telling him, hey, we should make a big move. So he was thinking, especially because he didn't want to win HOH. And I watched an interview with his wife where she was talking about how, like, she was surprised he won HOH because she thought he was going to, like, lay low a bit more and not make a ton of waves. But then obviously he gets to, when he has the power, he doesn't want to, like, waste it. I think Devens just, like, didn't want to make waves unnecessarily. And when Angela was like, fuck it, let's make a big move, I think he was like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Let's make a big move. I don't think it's really, like, Angela just, like, puppeteered the whole thing. And I think Devens does have that in him to do a big move and, like, just, you know, like, I think it's a good combination because she ignited that, but I think a more boring player, somebody who's, like, not as ambitious at making big moves, could have just snuffed it out. Like, I don't think Devens was swayed because he's being manipulated by Angela. I think he was swayed because he's like, you know what? Yeah, we should make a big move. You're right. This is a good, like, I think he just didn't, like, that's my interpretation of things. Anyways, but the sequence of events was so funny. Angela sways him, and then they begin to talk about, like, Dee is brought in on it, and then they begin to be like, we should bring all these people in. And at first they're like, how are we going to do that? Like, it's going to be really obvious. And then at some point, like, the thing that gets me, and this happened later in the week, but I think it was on today's episode. I'm recording this Thursday night. On the Eviction Night episode, Bear's talking about, like, the day, like, this night, and he's like, I was brought in last. And, like, I understand how that looks, but, like, as somebody who was watching it from the beginning, they were like, we should bring the crossovers in, like, we should bring Barrett, but Barrett was already asleep, so, like, they were struggling to wake him up. They finally, like, brought him up because they managed to wake him up, and I think to some extent they threw caution to the wind. Like, they didn't want to alert other people that they were, like, you know, bringing people up to the HOH. But by the time they managed to get Barrett, Jason, Lyric, and Rome were in the kitchen because they noticed that, like, Dee was trying to wake Barrett up because they were all in the have-not room. They noticed something suspicious, so they went to the kitchen and they were watching the whole thing. So I think at that point they were like, fuck it, they all know we're here. And I genuinely, they didn't see all of them walk up there. Like, they put it together because they were like, these people aren't in their beds. It was so fun to watch. And I was genuinely like, all the people in the HOH room, I was like, are they just gonna stay there? Like, they're in the kitchen. Like, they can't sneak back out. I don't know. Like, Dee pulling Barrett after they've already noticed that all the people are gone was obviously like super obvious, but for all the people in the room know, like maybe they haven't picked up, I don't know. But Devens brings everybody in and he's like, here's the plan. Was this super necessary to bring everybody in at like 5 a.m? Not really, but it was fun to watch. They're all in the room, okay? And Rome is like, fuck it, I'm gonna go up there. And I have to say, it was so fun watching this on feeds because Rome from the beginning is like, I'm gonna go up there. Like, I should confront Devens. Like, this is weird. And Lyric is like, don't do anything. Like, Lyric is really trying to stop the chaos. Rome goes and knocks on the door. And they hide. They all go to the bathroom and they pretend they didn't hear him. He literally pulls up a chair and just sits down in front of the door. And I was like, he's gonna be here all night. He's gonna wait for them to leave. It was so unserious. And then I was like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna wait until Jason, Lyric, and Rome go back to the room? Like, they're being so obvious. It was genuinely, it was a very crazy series of events. Also, something that wasn't shown in the episode is when they're all gathered in the room and they've decided that the nominees are going to be Melody, Jason, and Lyric. Angela tells the group like what she heard about Jason, or she doesn't say that she heard it about Jason. She's like, he was being super like friendly with me, and then he like went to the camera. But she like reveals all of this information. That wasn't shown in the episode, but anyway, the crossovers in the red corner, they become one big alliance called the Tool Shed, which, whatever. I hate the red corner so badly. And I have to say, for me, one of the most frustrating things about this week was the fact that Haley, Angela, and Dee became a lot closer, because in the first week, Dee was like, I can't trust the red corner. And this week she grew a lot closer with Haley and then grew more skeptical of Drew and Barrett. And I'm like, ugh, I like Drew and Barrett. I don't like Haley. Anyways, oh my God, I forgot to mention this. It was so funny. They all walked down the stairs. Obviously, they noticed them. Rome is like, that was really rude. They didn't let me in. Because Rome eventually goes back downstairs in the kitchen still. They all walk down. At this point, they just don't care anymore. They have the numbers. They're like, fuck it, we're aligned. Who cares? So they all walk down. I was genuinely like, are they going to just camp out in the HOH? That's what I was thinking. Anyways, they all walk down, and again, this is one of those moments where Haley is funny. Okay, she says big day tomorrow. That was funny. Like, I still don't like her, but that was funny. On feeds on Saturday before the HOH, like the nomination ceremony, Angela comes out in the egg punishment. So it's revealed to us that she won the America's time capsule, America's vote thing, whatever, and she got a punishment. And I have to say, I really don't like the egg thing. Like, it's a fun costume. But it was deeply, like, the thing that gets me about the costume is that, like, it was genuinely, like, really hard for her to maneuver. Like, it's heavy. She can't really sit properly. There was one day on feeds that she was trying to eat ramen and she, like, couldn't eat. Like, it was genuinely, like, very upsetting to watch Angela because, like, the second day or the third day or something, she's, like, literally crying in the storage room, being like, I don't know, you guys think I'm weak. Like, this is just so hard. It's like, I'm sorry. I don't think that you should be carrying around like really heavy, like, and she's a good sport. She was like, I would take any other punishment. It's just so heavy and like so difficult. And like, for her credit, she did the best she could, but she really struggled this week. And I did feel bad for her. Like, the segments where Angela's like an egg, I'm like, this isn't funny to me. This is just sad. I'm like, she's struggling so much. Anyways, this was a funny little moment to me. And not funny because I like to see people cry or because like, but Jason gets really upset that he isn't he wasn't chosen by the America's vote. And like the thing is, I understand that to some extent. I do think, I guess at this point he hasn't been clocked yet on the fact that like he's being shady. The thing that gets me is like he was very openly shady towards Angela, and then told people that he was being shady to Angela, who is a returnee of this show. And while you have your own fan base, there might not be a ton of overlap. And I think of all the people, if there's like a fan vote, I mean, it could go either way. A lot of people didn't like Angela either, so it could be like people, it really could go either way. I'm being a hater, but I think it's like it's hard because it's like maybe on another season when there weren't like reality TV people, because you weren't coming in as like a reality TV alum in the same way that these three icons were. So it's just different. Like you literally like, so I don't know, maybe in another season, yeah, you would have more of a following, but in this circumstance, I just wouldn't. And anyways, I wouldn't assume that I had the votes. Before the nomination ceremony, Devens and Rome do have a conversation. Rome is so annoying. I really don't like Rome. Like he's literally like, what was that last night? And Devin's like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. And then he's like, look, I have to be honest. Like, be straight up with me. Things are gonna get dicey. And Devin's like, yeah, things will probably get dicey. Like I really didn't like it. Anyways, the nomination ceremony happens. He nominates Jason, Lyric, and Melody. He explains the Rome situation, the fact that Rome was like, hey, these are the people I don't want you nominating. He was fine with me nominating Lala. He was completely fine. Like, really makes it about Rome and how Rome had a hierarchy. Good HOH speech, not really like anything super dramatic. It was really funny because Angela, the night before, when they were like spitballing ideas and Angela was like pushing her agenda, one of the things she proposed was Angela. I love this about her. She's like always in her head writing up little speeches, and like it's so funny. She's like, okay, you say something like this. We may be on Big Brother, but it's felt like Survivor in the way that there are two tribes, or something like that. Something about two tribes, aka there's no split house. Devens decided not to do that, and he explained on feeds that he didn't want to like confirm that there was a side of the house explicitly. You know, like give other people. And I agree because like while yes, you obviously brought people in, Barrett later in the week was like speaking to Mallory and he's like, yeah, they brought me in. Like even Drew, I think, is like, yeah, they brought me in. Like, what am I going to say? No. But like, you should let other people claim their allegiance to you before you're like, yeah, we're all on this side, because then you kind of screw those people over if they're trying to play multiple sides. So I do think it was good that he didn't make that, like that he didn't say that. But it was so funny that Angela was like coming up. His speech was pretty straightforward. It was pretty much like Rome came to me and he had this hierarchy of people, and like that rubbed me the wrong way. And so I'm nominating people that he didn't want on the block. I feel like anybody would just assume that, okay, that means that Rome is being backdoored. But Rome in his DRs is like, he did nominate me at least. I'm like, hello, he's trying not to nominate, like, whatever. The whole speech was about you, Rome. But you're like, he didn't nominate me, so he kept part of his word. No, he didn't. Anyways. And not that I think he needed to keep his word, but like it's still whatever. But before the nomination ceremony is adjourned, okay, Jason makes a comment to Angela about it being her HOH, and she brushes him off. And then he continues to be like, you're a liar. Good job, Angela. And she gets really upset. She's like, no, this isn't over, actually. I may be dressed like an egg detective, but it doesn't take a detective, you know. Again, I'm like, she definitely like thinks of these lines and then is like, that's good. I need to say that later. Like, whatever. Maybe she's really quick and she comes up with things on the spot. Okay, whatever. She says this about Jason, and then she's like, I'm gonna tell everybody what you did. Which, by the way, side note, I'm so sorry. I also forgot this, but it was really funny during that like 5-hour campaigning, not campaigning, like strategizing thing that like devolved into like I was literally up until like 5 in the morning. At some point, Angela was talking about Jason, and she goes, "My case is been." But anyways, Angela is like, this man used his sexuality. His reaction was so funny to me. He goes, I'm not doing sexual. It was so funny. It was so funny. Like, the thing is, when Beats came on, it was like heated, and Lala was crying, and it felt like a lot more intense. And I was like, oh my god, that blew up. Like, that was a big deal. Watching it was so funny. Like, it was very funny. And like, not that I don't think like Lala's right to be upset, or like people aren't wrong to feel impacted or whatever, but it genuinely was more funny than it was like anything that deep. It was so funny. The fact that Angela's in her egg costume the whole time, obviously, you know, cherry on top. But like, it was so funny. She's speaking and she gets upset and her hat falls at some point, and Devens picks it up after the whole exchange and is like, "Here's your hat. It's an excellent hat." But like, at some point, multiple people chime in, and Haley's like, "Yeah, Jason, you told me that you could like convince the girls of anything or something along those lines." And then he's like, "I was lying." And then it's like, "Well, you said that to me literally last night." Before, like, so it's something you've said multiple times. And then Jason's like, "You were fooled for a little bit, weren't you?" And then Devin looks back at his nomination, Jason being one of them, and he's like, "No." It was so funny. It was so funny. The series of events, the egg hat falling, Angela being really upset. Then as they're getting up, Rome calls Haley a snarky bitch. And I don't like Haley either, but like, let's not call women bitches. Like, gross. Haley's like, as I said, I think she's a nasty spirit. Let's not call her. Because here's the thing. Not to go on a side tangent, but I'm of the firm belief that bigotry against bad people is still bigotry. So while I do not like Haley, and I don't like, there are a lot of things about Haley that I don't like, and I would criticize her, I don't think that me disliking Haley or me having critiques of Haley, and I don't think she's a bad person. I don't, whatever. But like, even if she was, I just don't think that we should use derogatory language even against bad people. Like, that's just my opinion. I don't think misogyny against bad people is okay. I really don't think any kind of derogatory comment is okay, even if you're making it to somebody who is a bad person or even has caused a lot of harm. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing is perpetrating the big. I think we should critique people in ways that are more productive and don't feed into like, I really just don't think like misogyny against bad people is productive. I don't care how evil somebody is. I don't think we should be calling them bitches. That's my opinion. Okay. And I didn't like this. And I'm not saying Haley's evil because I don't like her. I do not enjoy her presence on feeds. She rubs me the wrong way. I don't think I'd be her friend in real life. But I'm not trying to make a moralistic judgment on her because I don't know her, nor has she caused enough harm on this television show for me to say she's a bad person. Like, right now, she's just insufferable to me personally. Sorry for going on that tangent. I really didn't like Rome calling her a bitch. Then Barrett gets defensive. It like really, really escalates. Lala's sobbing. Rome eventually comforts Lala. It's like genuinely, like, it was so chaotic on feeds after that whole scenario. Dee is like thrilled. She's like, "This is the best day of my life." She said on feeds, I don't think they included it in the episode, that it was better than winning Survivor, like the day she won Survivor. So funny. So funny. They're thrilled. They're like, everything blew up. Devens feels a little bit bad because he's like, I wasn't trying to like cause personal issues. I was just on a game level, you know. And I don't really think he did anything that in any way stepped over a line beyond game. Like, I think he was just like, you came to me with this game thing. It bothered me, so I'm sorry. Like, there was no personal judgment or like anything. Angela felt a bit like Angela's attacks on, or not attacks, but Angela's critiques of Jason and like that argument that was a bit more like emotional, but in that regard, it wasn't even like a super, like, she called him messy, but she wasn't even like, you're a bad person. She was just like, that, like, whatever. This week, last week, I really was just getting to know people. I didn't have very many people that I was like really locked in on. This week, I grew a fondness for both Melody and Mallory. Lyric, when she's not with Rome, I don't dislike her, but the amount that I like, she really irritates me when she's with Rome. So I didn't grow a fondness for Lyric, but there were moments where I was like, okay, I like this out of Lyric. And even watching her on feeds when she's like not talking to Roman, I'm like, I like this version of you better. I don't know if I'm quite rooting for her, if I've grown a fondness for her. Like, I really don't care to see a Lyric HOH. Not, I wouldn't be against it the way I'm against certain people being HOH because I dislike them. I don't want Haley to be HOH. I don't want Kamu or Chuck or Yash to be HOH. I don't want any of those people to be HOH. Like, when those people are HOH, I will not be excited. Okay. So I don't feel that way about Lyric. I'm just not interested. I would genuinely be really interested to see a Melody HOH, to see a Mallory HOH. Like, I've grown a fondness and an intrigue for them as players this week. So Melody, of the three nominees, I like Jason. But of the three nominees, I really like Melody and I hope she stays. And based off of the first like conversations before they played the veto, it seemed like Melody was in a good spot because she like talked to Devens and he even was like, I think this relationship is one that we can like, of the three, we can maintain and we can nurture and we can like, and to Melody's credit, she was always gaining and always like trying to sell her case with Devens. One of the reasons that Devens was considering nominating Lyric from the beginning was because she didn't really talk game, which I think the fact that they didn't talk game at all and then she really stepped up and like argue her case later in the week, I do think helped her because I think Melody was like playing and trying a little bit more. So when like Lyric putting in effort, not to discredit the work she actually did, but I think the mere fact that she did anything, like that she put in work, was impressive to Devens because he had been struggling to get anything out of her. You know what I mean? But anyways, sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Going into the veto, it seems like that's what people are leaning towards because, hopefully if somebody wins the veto, Rome is being backdoored and let's keep Lyric on the block next to Rome. That's the plan going into the veto, basically. Is like, of the people, we'll leave Jason there. We'll save Melody because maybe we can salvage his relationship with Melody. She gets along with Drew, and Drew's in our alliance. Like, let's try. The plan is to save Melody, right? Like, that's the plan for now. Going before they play the veto, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not happy the Melody's on the block, but I think she'll get the veto used on her. Cool. Okay, that was what I wanted to happen. They played the veto. Chosen for the veto are Angela and Barrett, along with the three nominees, Melody, Lyric, and Jason. And then, obviously, Rick Devens is competing in the veto as well because he's the HOH. So they're like, great, this is perfect. Rome will be backdoored because he can't save himself. So the veto competition, before the veto, also Angela and Barrett had a conversation where they both were like, I think I'm going to save Melody. Okay, so I was feeling good. I was feeling good going into the HOH competition. I was like, okay, if Lyric wins it, she saves herself, that's fine. Rome still goes on the block. Jason, same. Melody, she saves herself, whatever. Whatever scenario, I don't care enough about these three people. Like, I want Melody safe. And then I would want Jason and the Lyrics last on the list of people that I would want safe in the three. But at the end of the day, if Rome's on the block, Rome's going home. So I was like, you know what? Best case scenario is Melody wins. But if Angela or Barrett win, they say that they're gonna take Melody off. It seems like Devens is gonna take Melody off. I was feeling good going into the veto. Okay. Saturday the veto was played, and I really liked this comp. I enjoyed watching it. The set design was also really fun. I love the theme, to be quite honest. I'm always mixed on the themes. Sometimes I hate the themes, sometimes I love the themes. I genuinely really like this theme so far. Some things I don't love about it, like, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see how it happens. It's like how things go. But like literally the first of the time traveling like punishment from Big Brother history was literally last season, and I think again, Angela suffering and struggling aside, I do think it was a good punishment, a good costume, a very memorable one. I like that. And I think it's cool too of Angela being somebody who was like, she was on Big Brother 26, so she was on before Vince. I'm sure it must be kind of cool that like now her and Vince have this shared thing that they went through. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. Oh, so far the only like time travel with Big Brother has been like that comp from like last year. So I'm like, I really hope for the theme. Like I like the theme, but I'm like hesitant to like really be like I love this theme because I don't know if I love how they're executing it quite yet. I'm like, let's bring some old school Big Brother stuff in, okay? Then I'll be thrilled. But anyways, it's like they're in the 70s. I love the vibe. I love the costume design. It's like a puzzle, okay? And Jason is really close. It's like between Devens and Jason towards the end, and Devens brings in, Jason does not win. And I was happy that Devens won the veto. In retrospect, I wish somebody else had won the veto. I mean, the thing is, the outcome of the week turned out fine for me. Saturday, after the veto was played, and then Sunday and Monday, when they were deliberating what they were going to do with the veto, was some of the most infuriating feeds for me personally. So at the moment, like at the time, I did wish that somebody else had won the veto. Now the way I'm happy with the result of the week. So like I'm not, the butterfly effect or whatever. Like maybe if Melody had won, I mean, it's not like she won Blockbuster and saved herself there. But regardless, the veto situation did irritate me. Okay. Devens wins the veto, I'm happy for him. Comp beast Rick Devens. Like, okay, legend. Like I mentioned earlier, I watched an interview with his wife, Becca, and they asked him, it was on Rob Has a Podcast, they asked her, like, if the challenges on Survivor are obviously different than the ones on Big Brother, so they asked her, like, if she thinks that, like, Rick, his skill set will, like, would he, and she's like, yeah, I think so, like, I think he has a bunch of, like, little skills that, like, add up to being really good at these like very random comps. And so far, I think so. Like the first comp, it was like teamwork and it was a little bit more like luck based. But like the puzzles, like I do think he's like he's good at that. And comp based Rick Devens. And like the thing is, now that I'm saying, like at the time I wish somebody else had won, it was between Rick Devens and Jason. And I'm just going to jump ahead because I imagine if you're listening to this podcast, you've already watched the week and you just want to hear my thoughts on it. So I'm sorry for jumping ahead, okay? But Jason wins the Blockbuster. And you know what? In retrospect, the way everything played out, maybe it's good that Rick Devens won the veto, as annoying as the whole back and forth of who are we going to use the veto on thing drove me literally insane for reasons that I will literally get into in like 2 seconds. I swear to God, I know I'm being so annoying. But like, Jason won the Blockbuster, so maybe if Jason had won the veto, then like Rome would have won the Blockbuster and we would have been fucked. So like maybe it all happened the way it was supposed to. But anyways, okay, so Devens gets the veto. Great. It seems like, okay, the plan was Melody. Lyric, to her credit, I'll give her praise. She campaigns to Rick. Okay, also side note, I really don't care about this, because I understand the showmance is part of the game to some extent, but I really hate them I don't hate showmances on principle. It really depends. They have to move me. For me, Lyric and Rome, I'm fine with like a showmance where it's like, even if you kiss and like there's a physical aspect of it, it's like, and maybe this all happened before feeds, or maybe the only time they switched to them on feeds individually is when they were like making out. But I swear to God, I did not like witness one single like genuinely deep conversation about like their lives and what they want and like how they're compatible. Like it felt like they were just attracted to each other and they just went very forward in the attraction and we're like very physical, and then we're like, I love you, like you're everything I want. It's like, do you know each other? And I'm not saying you can't fall in love quickly, or like you can't like know or like get to know people very quickly in the house. I think you can. I just didn't see them having conversations. I'm like, what do you guys genuinely know about each other? Like maybe they did. Maybe I just at some point got annoyed, and anytime I muted it, so I missed those deep conversations. But it just feels like any conversation they had, then they started kissing, and I'm like, what do you guys know about each other? What do you like about each other? Anyways, I wish them the best, but to me, I'm like, I just don't understand what you like about each other. I don't understand the connection there. It's what they would call lustful online. Like, that was my sister's joke, okay? But it did crack me up, and I do agree. But anyways, there's a whole subplot. I just went on a tangent about how I just don't like them. I just don't like showmances like that. But I'm fine with the showmans if you're also gaming, okay? They did a fake breakup thing, whatever. It was so annoying. But that's part of her campaign to Rick Devens, is like, we're not together anymore. And I obviously that wasn't whatever. But she does do a good job of being like, I'm playing my own game. I'd rather Rome go than me. And I do believe her. I do think that was fully sincere. I think she likes Rome. I mean, literally there was a conversation, and I do believe this was in the episode from last week, where he was like, do you think that we can make it in the outside world, or something like that, or like, do you think that we're like, he asked a very intense question about their future, and she was like, I think it's day 4 in here. Like, they did move very quickly, and I do think on some level she was like, he came on a lot stronger than like she did necessarily. So I do believe her when she was being like, I want to play my own game. I don't care if Rome goes over me. I do believe that 100% that was genuinely how she felt. Which is why I genuinely think the fake breakup is unnecessary. I think her argument was fine without it. Of like, I'm playing my own game. Please take me off. I'll be loyal to you. Like, if you use veto on me, I can return that for you. And to her credit, from what I remember, and I don't know because I'm not a perfect, live feeder. I watch to the best of my ability, but like, I don't catch everything, and also obviously not everything's on feeds. So maybe she did. But from all I remember, as much as Melody was like, yes, I would want to work with you, I don't think she ever offered to Rick, if you use the veto on me, I'll keep you safe. Like, I remember her being like, hypothetically, like, yeah, I want to work together, or like, no worries, it's Big Brother, you gotta do what you gotta do. But I don't remember her making like an offer like this. So I do think Lyric came in prepared and like convinced Rick Devens. D was convinced, and I was just annoyed because, and in retrospect, I'm like, okay, whatever. I understand the context of it now, and I'm less annoyed with the greater context of the week, okay? But in the moment, I was just like, you're targeting Rome. Rome isn't a showmance. If you're taking somebody off the block to backdoor Rome, and Rome still has the opportunity to save himself, maybe don't leave the person he's closest to in the game, because what if he wins and then the duo's intact, and like, yeah, you got rid of one of his numbers in that Melody and Jason are somewhat aligned with him, but like, they're not as close and as loyal as Lyric. That's the whole point of a showmance, and the whole reason you target showmances is because they're a duo. So why would you, in targeting one person in a duo, remove the other person in the duo? It made no sense. I was super annoyed by this logic, okay? And part of the thing that they were, like, that he was considering, Rick Devens was the fact that, well, Rome could still save himself. So if Rome saves himself, this wins favor with not only Lyric, but then Rome, because I can say to Rome, hey, I am going to backdoor you, but if I take Lyric off, like, can that maybe win us a little bit of favor? And that irritated me, and it really fueled a hatred I have for the Big Brother blockbuster. I posted about this, and people were like arguing with me as if I don't have like a solid opinion that I came to for a solid reason that I feel very strongly about. And I'm not saying that I can never like. I don't think things very black and white. Okay. Yes, I did say on TikTok, if the Big Brother blockbuster has 0 haters, I'm dead. but like I don't hate it to my core where I think it like should be abolished completely. I think one, it should be shorter. Two, I think it should be tweaked. Somebody on Twitter said that they think the blockbuster should be like a timed comp every time. And so maybe somebody gets it, but maybe nobody gets it. So then you still have three nominees. I think that would be cool. Like I think it not because right now the way the blockbuster works, and part of the reason I hate it is because it's basically just an extra veto, but it's a veto that like isn't as interesting of a game mechanic as the veto. It's just a comp to win to save yourself with no other effort. Like if you win a veto, there's like moves you can make with it. It's power you're holding, and not like the blockbuster is just you win a comp and you're safe. There's no power you're holding. It's like a quick get out of jail free card. I don't like it. There's whatever. I also think there are a lot of reasons I don't like the blockbuster, but one of the reasons I don't like the blockbuster is because you can't really backdoor people. Obviously, they want to backdoor Rome in that they're not giving him two opportunities to save himself. They're giving him one, the blockbuster, because they can't control that. But I like a backdoor. Like, does it suck if you're on the receiving end? Obviously, but it's like the backdoor is one of the best ways to like blindside people or to like use the game mechanic to your favor early on. Like I love the backdoor, and you just can't have the backdoor in the same way because it's like all these considerations of like what if Rome stays. It's like that's why you don't nominate him originally. That's the beauty of the backdoor. You have the numbers. He can't play in the veto. Boom, he's not safe. Now you have to consider a hypothetical scenario where he saves himself and he's still in the game when he's done nothing to stay in the game besides win one quick comp. Like I just don't like the blockbuster because it adds more stock in comps and people who are bad players. I said this once about Survivor, and I think it's true to Big Brother in a lot of ways. I think in Survivor it's a little bit more straightforward because there aren't HOHs and like you don't nominate people. I said when I was watching Survivor that I think the most impressive thing you can do on Survivor is not be voted out. And that's why I hated the Redemption Island of it all when I was watching South Pacific. I think the most impressive thing you can do on Big Brother is maneuver socially, is save yourself and make deals. And like what Lyric did, like Lyric talking herself out of the block and getting the veto used on her is more impressive to me than if Rome had won the blockbuster. And I just don't like the stock. Like Rome could have campaigned poorly all week, and then boom, he wins a comp and he's good. I hate the mechanic. I hate the mechanic. You also, again, you can't backdoor people. And my sister and I were talking about this, and I really agree with her where she's like, in Big Brother, you can't blindside people like the same way that you can on Survivor because on Survivor anybody can go home at any time. Obviously, unless you have an individual immunity, and like early on, if your tribe is not up for, if your tribe doesn't go to tribal, then you can't be eliminated. But like, you know, if you're going to tribal and you don't have an individual immunity, in theory, anybody can be voted out. So it's blindsides are a lot easier because in theory, everybody could be on board to vote somebody out, or enough people could be on board, and you have no idea that you're even a consideration. The backdoor in Big Brother is really one of the only ways you can blindside people because they're nominees. Like people always know that it's a possibility that they're going home if they're nominated. So while it's not a blindside to the same degree, you can in theory be blindsided with a backdoor and think you're fine, and then actually they're trying for the drama that the blockbuster supposedly adds. I think it also you lose the thrill of a backdoor, and it also again it adds this wrinkle of like you can't even really backdoor because the person basically then can still save themselves. So what was the point of the backdoor? Like yeah, okay, you reduce their chances to save themselves from 2 to 1. But like it's not a backdoor in the same way. I really hate the blockbuster. I hate the fact that they're backdooring Rome, but they have to consider a scenario where Rome stays. Like that should be a to me. And you know, sorry to go on a rant, but I literally managed to talk about how I don't like it, and people were like, it's added like drama and suspense. A lot of people were arguing in my comments about why they liked it. And something like I received many times, like, a comment that I received many times was about how like feeds were always really predictable and you would always know who's going home and like, and I'm like, I said that I think it reduces the urgency to campaign. And people were like, there's basically like never any votes that are flipped. Like that's very rare. Like it's whatever. People are arguing that like the suspense of like who's going to be the final two nominees, that is suspense like basically every week. Whereas like a vote flipping or somebody campaigning really well is like rare. But I would disagree with that in that I think that the blockbuster, there's still three scenarios. It's not like on eviction night, there's a random third person because they fail at a comp, then it goes on the block. The added, like, it's just an added scenario that they go through. They're like, okay, if it's A and B, we're going with A. If it's A and C, we're going with A. If it's C and B, we're going with C. Like, it's just an added scenario that they're then decided on. Like, sometimes it's a bit more flip-floppy, but not, like, it really still is dependent on, like, the people and the alliances and, like, the cast and paranoia. And it's not the blockbuster, in my opinion, that adds that. And I think at the end of the day, you should be incentivizing social play instead of putting more weight in comps. And that's just what the blockbuster does. It's like, okay, yeah, it makes Thursdays maybe a little bit more interesting because you're waiting to see who's going to win the blockbuster. But at its core, there's less incentive to like really try hard to flip a vote, especially if you're somebody who like is very comp focused. I really hate the blockbuster. I'm really not a fan of the blockbuster. And I think if they want to keep it around, and I do think it adds an interesting layer early on to some extent. I think it lasted way too long last season. I think they need to do something different with it. I just think it was interesting in theory, but then, and I felt this way, interestingly enough, about the Battle of the Block when I was watching season 16, where I'm like, okay, at first it's like fun and it's new, and it's like people are considering like, but then it became a thing where it's like at some point when something is a game mechanic, people just maneuver around it, and the suspense isn't any more than like the suspense and the drama of like you know what I mean? Like the battle of the Battle of the Block or whatever it was called, when it was like there were two HOHs and it was like so dramatic at first, and then like a few evictions in, they get the hang of it and they're like they're kind of gaming it, and they're like, okay, if we're aligned, let's both win HOH. So then you'll like, I don't know, like they find ways around it. So then it's like these new twists to me when they're diluting the social game, in my opinion. It just doesn't outweigh the like suspense or the added drama of like who the final two nominees will be. Like at the end of the day, there's still only a handful of scenarios you can go through. So then they're just decided based on the different scenarios. Like, okay, like to me, like people in my comment section on TikTok were like, when was the last time somebody really campaigned and swayed a vote? And it's like, okay, maybe it doesn't happen every single season, okay? But the iconic moments, the players who were so good, who are able to do that, those to me are the most interesting people to watch. So maybe we should incentivize that kind of play instead of putting more stock in comps. That's my only fucking point. Like, I'm not saying that every single eviction will be super interesting without the blockbuster, just as I don't think that every eviction is super interesting with the blockbuster, okay? I really don't. I just think, in my opinion, for the things I enjoy watching, I think it takes away more than it adds, and that is simply my opinion. Anyways, I was really annoyed. And again, I think there were a lot of factors that played into Devens using the veto on Lyric. I do think the fact that he was considering that Rome, it would like not burn the bridge entirely. I do think that being a talking point repeatedly really irritated me. Like, that was the thing that they said many times. Like, it wasn't even like, Lyric said she'd keep me safe, Melody did, and I believe. Like, if that was the logic, even if I thought it was stupid, I would maybe not be so irritated by it. It was the fact that multiple times they were talking about how this person who is their target, who he literally, like, there was a whole show at the nomination ceremony because he was throwing Rome under the bus and being like, exposing Rome's hierarchy of alliances. Like, the fact that he was then trying to appease Rome pissed me the fuck off. Like, I was so annoyed. The decision itself was annoying to me, but the fact that the reason he was making the decision was because of something that I feel like annoyed about regarding Blockbuster already just made it worse for me. I was pissed off. So the weekend was really annoying for me. Okay, and Drew at some point when he's talking to somebody else was like, it wouldn't make sense to leave Lyric on, like, to take Lyric off the block because then Lyric and Rome aren't on it together. And I was like, okay, great. Maybe somebody will sway him. Convo tried. Like, Convo did argue, I think Saturday night, maybe whatever. He at some point was really, really pushing for Melody to be taken off the block. Now, the reason he wanted Melody to be, like, I didn't really like his reasoning because I don't like Convo. But I was like, okay, well, maybe if this, like, I had a little bit of hope, and then they went back to Lyric, and Dee and Angela both said, yes, I think Lyric's the better choice. So then he settled on Lyric. Monday rolled around and I was annoyed. And I was like, at this point, I swear to God, if Melody goes home, I'm going to be losing my mind. Like, I was so stressed out. Especially because as soon as the nominations were finalized, Devens uses the veto on Lyric. Rome goes up in her place. Final nominees are Rome, Melody, and Jason. The conversation of, like, the scenarios begins to happen. And Dee and Angela, for a little tiny bit, it didn't last a ton of time, okay, but it lasted enough for me to be upset. They were like, maybe we should vote for Melody. Not over Rome, like, if Rome was on the block, he was going regardless, but it was a little bit of a conversation of, like, maybe we should get Melody out instead of Jason. Very brief. Eventually, they did settle on, like, we want Rome. But, like, feeds on Tuesday were a little bit stressful because I'm like, why are you considering Melody now? I'm like, I swear to God, Melody's going to go home and this is going to be such a fuck-ass, like, week. I was so annoyed. Eventually, they did kind of settle on, like, things kind of settled down, and I was, like, less annoyed watching feeds because I'm like, okay. They're pretty set in the hierarchy. Rome tries to campaign, does it horribly. There's literally a moment, I don't remember what day of the week it was Tuesday or Wednesday, where he pulls all the boys into the gym to have, like, a conversation with them to campaign. And Dee, one, he does this super, obviously, I guess nobody cares about hiding things anymore, you know. But he pulls everybody except Jason and Devens, and Dee's upset about this and brings them upstairs and is like, they're boys too, why are you not including? I hated the fact that it was an all-boys meeting in general to campaign, especially because based off of his campaign, it wasn't a like, hey, we should, which I would have hated this regardless, because I hate when the men do this on Big Brother, when they're like, the women might be forming an all-women's alliance, we got to stick together. I hate when the men do that. But if he did that, at least I would understand, like, separating it by, like, I'm going to talk to the boys. It was so random. He was just making his case, and I'm like, okay, why do you have to do this in a group? Firstly, and second, why are you doing this in a group of I really rubbed me the wrong way. Then he goes downstairs to the back room, and Dee and a few of the women are there, and then Dee's like, what do you have to say to us? You have voters down here too. Thank you, Dee. I was like, literally, as soon as Rome was like, I'm gonna have a boys chat, not chat, I'm so locked in, like, I'm still Love Island brain, which reminds me, I was listening to the Rob Has a Podcast recap of the finale. Not the finale. I was listening to the Rob Has a Podcast live recap of this week's eviction, tonight's eviction, because I live on the West Coast, so it aired. I followed along on Twitter. I listened to the recap, and then I watched it live my time, which was 8, already knowing everything that happened. But I was listening to the recap, and at some point Morgan's like, hopefully now there's not any more French fries in the have not room. There was like a everybody was kind of quiet, just like a Love Island. That was funny. I really liked that. I was like, you know what, Morgan, I feel the same way. Thank God there's no more French fries in the have not room. I lost my train of thought because okay, the separating it, like, when Dee was like, you have voters down here, I was like, thank you, because it really irritated me. I didn't understand the reason, and somebody else pointed this out, and I do agree. And somebody in the house, I don't remember who, was like, I don't even think he was going to campaign to the women. Like, I think Dee called him out, but then because he came down and he said like literally the exact same thing. Like, it was very weird. At this point, I mean, I was already kind of done with Rome for a while, but I genuinely at this point was like, of the three people on the block, I mean, even if it was Rome, Lyric, and Jason, I still would, like, of all the people possibly going home, Rome was the one who I always wanted to go home most. Melody was the one I wanted to go home least. If it had been the original nominees, then my preference of going would have been Lyric, Jason, Melody, because I didn't want Melody to go home. With the final nominees, it was Rome, Jason, Melody, because they don't want Melody to go home. Now, if Melody had been taken off the block and it was Jason, Lyric, and Rome, it would have been Rome, Lyric, Jason. That makes sense. Okay, anyways. Because I like Jason. I think Jason adds something. I'm enjoying watching him. I do think he's in an interesting position now that he's like aware of the fact that like his shadiness and his messiness is like getting him in danger, that I think I'm really interested to see how he plays going forward. He's done really well at the comps he's competed in. I'm excited for a potential future, hopefully, if he survives week 3. I'm really excited for a potential Jason HOH. Like, I'm trying to stay positive because I think Jason has a lot more to add to the show. And Lyric, you know, maybe she's getting there. I'm still not sold on Lyric, but anyways, I don't even remember where I was going with that. But yeah, there was a brief like flip flop to like Melody for a hot minute, but it was not the consensus. It was just like Dee floating that idea to Angela. And part of the reason for this, it's not the only reason, but Dee and Angela specifically, because Devens isn't really involved in this, have begun to be paranoid of Drew and Barrett. Specifically Drew more than Barrett, but Barrett kind of now by association. They've been kind of suspicious of them because they think that they're not like super loyal to the Crossroads. Now, what they don't understand, or maybe not understand, but like what they're not distinguishing is that like they're not loyal to the tool shed because they don't like they were told about the Red Corner Alliance when the Red Corner Alliance was not told about them. So in their brain, they're like, okay, we're like the core alliance, and then they're like the outer alliance. So like of all the people, they don't like the outer alliance. And Barrett even said in his DRs, and he said this to other people too, like on feed, he just really doesn't talk to Chuck or Kamu. Like Haley he's talking to more this week is what he said, but like Chuck and Kamu really don't speak to him. So it's like he doesn't feel any kind of connection, game or otherwise, with some of the people in this alliance. So he doesn't really like, you know. So like that's the thing for me is like I think that they would be a lot more loyal to you. I also think it's like Drew is like a rat and he, you know, but he hasn't spilled your information. I mean, I guess they have no way of knowing that. But it's like, wouldn't you just like pick up on the fact that like the way the other people are, it's not like, you know what I would do if I was them? I would tell Drew some fake information and see if that like got back to me. And if it didn't, then I'd be like, okay, he's not leaking anything. Because I think that they're just assuming because he reports to them about what he's gathering in other alliances that he's doing the same thing to the other people. And he's really not. Like, he's really not. From what I've seen. I don't know. I really, really wanted Rome to go home. And then I really didn't want Melody to go home. It seemed like by Thursday, I was like, okay, I don't think Melody's going in any circumstance. I think Jason goes, which like I wouldn't have wanted that. My worst case scenario was Rome winning the blockbuster. In the episode before the eviction, we got some Drew that Drew and Barrett maybe being on the outs of their alliance in the edit. A lot of like maybe Rome will stay, or if Rome wins the blockbuster, like maybe this could be good for us. Like Drew said in his confessionals that he wants Rome to win the blockbuster because he doesn't really like the outer layer of the tool shed, so he's more willing to work on it. Barrett was more like, I don't feel like I'm at the corner of this alliance. he brought up the fact that he was brought in. I mentioned this earlier, that he was brought in like last, and like that really wasn't because they value Haley, Chuck, and Common more than you. You were just asleep, and at first they were like, you can't just pull a bunch of people; it'll look weird. And then I think at some point they were like, who cares? They noticed already, and they just decided, like, Uh, but he doesn't have all the information, and I do also understand whatever. Like, you join this alliance, and then the other people in the alliance are doing nothing to like work with you. I understand his feelings. I guess is my point. So we'll see. We'll see. I think of any of them, Drew's more likely to flip. And Drew and Barrett, they formed a final two. I don't remember. I think it was called the Jugglers. I like them. Right now, the people that I'm really rooting for are Dee, Angela, Devens. I think for me, of the returnees, the people that I most want, like my dream, like if I had to pick the order that I want people to win, based just so far, okay, Rick Devens is number one. I've grown fondness for Rick Devens. I think me growing fond of his wife and his family, I have fondness towards Rick Devens, okay? What can I say? Sometimes I see him on feeds and I picture my foster kitten, and I'm like, oh, Rick Devens. Like, I like Rick Devens. I have a soft spot for Rick Devens, okay? I want him to win. Then Angela, and then Dee. I like Dee, but there's a little bit more. Like, Dee is starting to irritate me a bit more, and so is Angela, but Angela, I just have a bit more of a, this is her second chance playing Big Brother, and I've seen her play, and she's playing better. So the things that annoy me about Angela, I'm like, okay, well, she's doing better. I don't know. There's something about Angela that I'm like still hoping. I really like Dee. I think I would prefer Dee win over Angela, actually, now that I'm saying it, just because I think it's a better story. But right now, if I had to crown the winner right now, in terms of who I just want to give the money to, is Rick Devens, and then Angela, and then Dee. But I do think Dee, depending on how she adjusts, because I there are some things I just don't like about, anyways, depending on how things transpire, I think Dee could have a very compelling winner arc. All of the bets could. And then I really like Barrett and Drew. I really like Melody. Mallory's growing on me. Lyric, I'm like, keeping an eye on. I really like Taylor. I don't feel like when she's on feeds, I see her gaming as actively as I wish. I would see her. I like Lala. Similarly, I don't feel like she's gaming as much as I would like to see. And then I really don't like the red corner people. Or Josh. So that's kind of the way that I'm rating the players. I really like Melody. Mallory's really growing on me. And I really want Mallory to win an HOH. I really want Melody to win an HOH. I want Drew to win an HOH. Like, there's so many people that I want to win HOHs. I want Jason to win an HOH. Will any of this happen? Who knows? But I'm excited to see how this season progresses. I'm really happy that everyone went home. Like, I'm so relieved, especially because it was kind of iffy there, and I was like, oh my god, all of this, and then Melody's going home on Rick Devens' HOH. Even Jason, I'm like, okay, that I wouldn't have been happy with it, but at least it would have been more of an arc on like Melody goes. That sucks. But luckily, that's not where we're at. That's not what's going to happen, or that's not what happened. So Rome went, and I'm really happy that the showman's has been broken up, that Rome's been sent home. I want to see some change. Like, as much as I really disagree with people being like, it's a steamroll, because we're 2 weeks in. If that side of the house continues to win power, like, okay, yeah, at that point, we're getting into a steamroll. I just think, honestly, here's the thing, is the first week, that side of the house kind of was guaranteed power. So it didn't really feel as much like a steamroll, because I'm like, okay, week 2, whatever. Really, the next few weeks pre-jury and then into the jury, I really, really hope that like the power shifts a little bit, like desperately. And I really hope, my hope is that whatever the Americas, whatever it is, even if it goes to that side of the house, which I feel like it probably will, because Rick Devens or Dee will probably get it, I kind of hope that whoever gets it, something crazy still happens with it. Like, that it shakes things up, maybe accidentally. or in that side of the house implodes somehow. So I'm really excited to see how things happen. Like, as much as I'm annoyed that side of the house might just keep winning power, I hope if they do, it implodes. I'm excited to see it all play out. People think like people are at the end of the day, for the most part, I'm having fun. And what more could I want? And I have to say, I've been having a lot of emotions this past week, not to get all personal and emotional or whatever, but I've been having a lot of like mental breakdowns and like emotions about that. I'm just spending all my time watching feeds, and like I do unfortunately take those like, oh, I have a job, I can't watch feeds things personally. And I'm trying not to because I know it's not about me, but I'm like, I had a job. I liked my job. I lost my job through no fault of my own. I would love to be designing a newspaper right now. I unfortunately am unemployed. So I'm trying to find the positive in it. But I do think I had moments where I'm like, I'm spending every day watching people on, like, I don't know. But you know what? I'm trying to think positive. Maybe the podcast will blow up because of, I'm trying to think positive. And it is kind of like very slay that I got laid off right before Big Brother started. Like, I literally got laid off right at the end of June, and like less than a week later, Big Brother started. Oh, shout out to them. Or maybe not less than a week, maybe about a week. It doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter. Thank you so much for tuning in. You'll hear from me around this time next week as well. And I hope you have a great week. I hope you enjoy my coverage. As I said at the beginning of the episode, if you have any other shows you would like me to cover, I have a lot of time. So if you're like, Emmy, have you ever seen this random show? And if not, can you watch it and like do an episode dedicated on it? I would love to. Like, genuinely, please. I will say I'm not the biggest fan of medical shows, which I know I did cover The Pit season 2. The Pit is the only medical show I've ever gotten into. I really don't like medical shows. But I give it a chance for you, my viewers, my fans. I don't have any fans except my family and the few people who do. Thank you for watching. The people who do watch, especially people who are into like social strategy games like Big Brother and Survivor. I know some people have found me because I talked about that, and to those people, thank you so much for tuning in, because I genuinely love and feel very passionately about like the game and like people's game decisions, and like I feel very passionately about this, which is so it brings me joy when people care to listen to my thoughts on it. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great week. You'll hear from me next week. Bye.